Hi guys, I'm Charlie, a Charlie book fanatic. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to recommend you some science fiction books. The topics for these recommendations are coming from a Goodreads group, and I will link the group down below, as well as the channels of the two hosts of this group who think of the topics. I am not much of a science fiction reader. I love science fiction, but I don't read very much of it. I am very new to the genre, but I'm going to recommend you some books that I really enjoyed. Also, if you've noticed, my background is a little bit different. I have a whiteboard. My brother bought me a whiteboard, and you can't see what is on it, but I actually have listed all of my to-read books for the month of September on it, as well as a book that I wanted to add to my TBR, but I hadn't had time in the morning, so I think that is a really cool thing for in my room, and jotting things down quickly when I don't want to boost up my laptop. I also realized it's not actually September when I upload this, but I hadn't had time in my upload schedule to upload this earlier, so it is going up in October, but that's fine. October will probably go up in November, that's just how it is. So I'm going to recommend you 5 books I really enjoyed in the science fiction genre. The first book I'm going to be talking about is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I read this one not that long ago, and if you want to get into science fiction, I think this is the best way to start. This is an adult science fiction, and it follows this crew on the spaceship, but they're all from different species and different cultural backgrounds. And I thought it was so interesting to learn about all of these species and how some of them even change gender throughout their lives. And they have different sexualities, and it was so cool. It had interspecific relationships, it had LGBTQ plus elements, and it was all completely normal in this book. I absolutely loved that. I rated this book 4 stars because there was one particular event in this book that I was like WTF about, because I felt like it was so out of character for one of the characters in this book that I just couldn't rate it 5 stars. But otherwise, except for that scene, I would have rated 5 stars because this has been one of the best reads I've ever had, not only in science fiction, but in general. And also, the sequel is coming out in October, so that's a plus. The second book is a standalone called Fuzzy Nation by Scalzi. This is a book I read quite a while ago, and it was on recommendation from Katie Loves to Read. I will link her channel as well. She studies law, and I study law as well, and a lot of legal terms came through in this book, and I was interested in that, as was she, so I thought I'd pick it up, and I actually really enjoyed it. It follows a guy, and he discovers this new species that nobody has ever heard of, and he goes on this quest to prove that these fuzzies, as he calls them, are sapient. The third book is a Peter Pan retelling, and it's Everland by Wendy Spinale. It is science fiction, fantasy. It is obviously Peter Pan retelling, but it's set in this kind of steampunk dystopian setting where a virus plagued the UK and all of the adults died instantly, but the children get infected slowly and die off slowly. But there is one girl who isn't immune, and she carries a gene that Captain Hook needs to make a cure. And this is one of the best Peter Pan retellings I have read. I thought the setting was so good. The setting was so original. It honestly really made the story. I didn't get some of the artistic choices the author made with the names and gender bending with one of the characters, but I really enjoyed this book, and I thought it was well worth the read if you liked Peter Pan, or if you didn't like Peter Pan like I did, but just the overall concept and idea of it, but not the execution of the original book. Then I would recommend this retelling of it. And I can't go through a science fiction video without mentioning Illuminae by Amie, Kaufman and Kristoff at least once. The sequel, Gemini, is coming out in October, so all the more reason to pick up Illuminae. This follows Katie and Ezra, who have to evacuate the planet. They have just broken up, and they end up on different spaceships, and they don't know if they're okay, but they start emailing, and it's basically their love story, but it's also so much more than that. It follows Katie for most of the book. It's also formatted in a different format than usual book. There is emails, there is text messages, there are interviews, there's research in this, and I loved it. I got through this so quickly, and if you haven't heard people raving about this enough, honestly, just pick it up and see it for yourself. You will know what I mean. And the last science fiction I'm going to recommend to you is Pivot Point by Kasie West. Kasie West is normally a contemporary YA author, but this book had some fantasy science fiction elements, and it follows a girl who parents are splitting up, and she can go with her mother or she can go with her father, and she has the ability to see how her choices will affect her in the future, so she can see how her life will turn out if she stays with her mother and how her life will turn out when she stays with her father. And this was such an interesting concept, and I loved one of the guys in this book, and I loved both of her lives actually, and it was just so interesting. There's also a plot twist in this I didn't see coming, but I really enjoyed this and it surprised me a lot. So if you haven't picked up anything by Kasie West, I would recommend starting with her science fiction book because I thought it was really good. These are my science fiction recommendations. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me some recommendations down below because I could always use more science fiction in my life. Let me know what you thought about any of these books if you have read them. I would love to know. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.